time. We visit Cong in County Mayo for the Cong Festival, celebrating 60 years of the Quiet Man, and we follow in the footsteps of John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara. We take a cruise on the Corrib and we find out about the history of this picturesque part of County Mayo.
I could get very used to this kind of lifestyle, being driven around in this beautiful 1924 bull-nosed Morris Oxford. And why so, you may ask? Well, we're here in Cong in County Mayo for the Cong Festival, which is celebrating 60 years since the release of the Quiet Man movie, and this car is identical to the one that was used in the film. Do you remember the scene where the bishop comes on his annual visit to Castletown and he's driven around by the Church of Ireland minister, the Reverend Playfair, very aptly named? Well, it was a car identical to this one. As you know, the village of Cong is where much of The Quiet Man, starring John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara, was filmed. And here, at the magnificent Ashford Castle, some of the cast, including John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara, stayed during the making of the film. Also, a lot of the scenes from the movie were shot here on the grounds. During the course of this evening's programme, we'll be celebrating The Quiet Man, an iconic movie that's brought thousands and thousands of visitors to Ireland down through the decades. We'll be meeting some of the people who were in the movie, made the costumes, we'll pay a visit to some of the locations, but as well as that, we'll be enjoying some of the things that you can see and do when you come to visit this part of the country, because Cong isn't just a movie set, you know. It was in 1951 that The Quiet Man was made. It was directed by John Ford and it starred, as we know, John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara, and also Barry Fitzgerald. Now, the following year the film was released and it catapulted the village of Cong onto the world stage. During the making of the film, the cast stayed here at Ashford Castle, which is one of the fine luxury castle hotels in this country. Niall Rochford is General Manager at Ashford Castle. Now, they picked a nice spot, didn't they?
They certainly did, Mary, and it's probably one of the most beautiful parts of Ireland. And I think when you come in the main avenue and come around the corner and you see the castle and the lake in front of you, I think at the time that's what sealed it for John Ford when he saw the environment that he was going to stay in for 3 months.
It must be steeped in history, and even looking at the outside of the castle, and there's lots of different types of building even.
It is indeed. Ashford traces history back to 1228. That's the earliest record that we have of Ashford. But what you see in front of you is probably as a result of the Guinness family. And the Guinness family purchased the castle in the 1700s. And a lot of the furniture and a lot of the artifacts are as they were when the Guinness family would have lived here.
I'd love to have a look at one of the rooms. I'd like to see Maureen O'Hara's room. Would that be okay?
We can do that. So this is it, Mary.
Wow, this is where Maureen O'Hara stayed.
This is where Maureen O'Hara stayed all of those years ago. It's probably not one of the largest rooms in the castle, but at the time it was probably one of the only rooms in the castle that had an ensuite. And of course you can see the view out here. You can imagine after a hard day's filming, coming up here and cocooning yourself away for the evening, for the afternoon, and just watching that view.
It's great elevation here, isn't it?
Yeah, she was up here, and John Wayne was just one floor down from her.
And do you have many tourists who come specifically because they've heard of The Quiet Man and want to see these rooms and maybe stay in them?
Very much so. Guests request specifically this room, 500, and the other room 408 where John Wayne stayed.
So I imagine then that the Cong Festival is very important for all business in Cong.
Yeah, I think, Ashford Castle and Cong are inextricably linked. I think probably half of our guests were in Cong last night at the Cong Festival, enjoying everything that the festival has to offer. So it is very important for us and for Cong itself.
I feel as if I'm part of history here.
It is. It's living history. It's breathing history. Very much so.
Well, it wasn't all about being cocooned in these luxurious surroundings. There was work to be done. There was a movie to be made. And we're going to have a chat now with filmmaker Shay Mary Doyle, who's made a documentary about the making of the movie. It's called John Ford, Dreaming the Quiet Man. And this is to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the release of the film, Shay. What inspired you to actually make the documentary?
Well, it was really inspired by what we call a good argument between myself and a colleague who had rubbished the film, said it was stage art, stereotypical, and I had counter-argued that it was made by John Ford, and he'd made The Great Savant, Agreement with My Body, and he was the greatest American filmmaker, and why we make a film that was dishing down the country where his own parents had come from. So I set out to prove them wrong. Really, that was the germ of the idea.
You've had special screenings of the documentary during the Cong festival. Is that important to you?
Yeah, it is, but particularly that this is the 60th anniversary. It was on these grounds that John Ford first showed The Quiet Man before it was released to the world. For a lot of people, it's like comfort food when they watch the film. It's kind of like something that calms them down. It lasts and it gets better, like a good wine.
Don't you be talking to me about bonnets. After leaving mine stuck up there like a...
Easy now. Have the good manners not to hit the man until he's your husband and until you hit you back.
I was on a ship to America because I don't fly to make the American interviews, and I met a guy and he smoked a cigar and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm making a film about the quiet man." He broke down and cried and the cigar fell out of his mouth, and he said to me, I hadn't got a camera on him, he said to me, "I saw The Quiet Man before I was born." And his mother was pregnant, carrying him when she saw the movie. They watched it every year, thereafter, just tradition.
And what did you learn as you interviewed all of these people, like Maureen O'Hara?
Well, I learned one thing, the incredible passion that people have for the film. I mean, just from a myriad of people, from the great to small, just incredible passion.
It is poetry. It is poetry. I think it was Jack Nicholson said when we were doing The Departed, he said, God gave the Irish the words, the Italians the music. I said, okay.
And it's now being restored, which is fantastic. It lost a new version, digitally restored, is coming out very soon.
That's great for Cong.
Great for Cong, and I hope great for the documentary.
As Shay was saying there, John Ford's great love for the land of his ancestors is reflected in the magic of the film, which, even to this day, is an absolute gem of the silver screen. Now, the village of Cong straddles the counties of Mayo and Galway and is situated on the isthmus connecting Lough Corrib here behind me and Lough Mask. And while Cong is, of course, synonymous with the quiet man, it's also a place that has an awful lot to offer anyone who's interested in outdoor activities. And Maria Malarkey decided to partake of one of these outdoor pursuits when she joined a group of tourists for a cruise on this lovely lake.
Ashford Castle is one of the most dramatic castles in Ireland, and today it provides a romantic backdrop for the start of our Lough Corrib Island cruise. The group of tourists I've joined for the day come from all over the world and are looking forward to experiencing the sights, sounds and atmosphere of this truly magnificent lake and all it has to offer.
Pat, nice to meet you.
Good afternoon, Maria. How are you doing? How are you? You're very welcome to the Isle of Innisfree. How are you?
Thank you very much. Isn't it gorgeous?
Beautiful day. Absolutely beautiful day.
So, we're going to head out on the car?
Very good. Come on aboard.
All aboard.
All aboard.
Well, Corrib Cruise is a family-run business. It was set up by my dad, John Luskin, back in 1976. And today it's run by myself and my brother David, although we've worked in this business from the very beginning. We started with our dad John at that time back in 1976.
I'm from Pearl River, New York. I've been coming here since I was 3. Absolutely love coming to Cong. I now come back every year with my husband and my children and boys, and my husband loves to fish. We come out in this boat for over 30 years and I love coming to Cong, hope never to stop.
For mountains, of course, these are part of the Connemara mountain range. So this lake measures 68 square miles or 44,000 acres, making it the biggest lake in the Republic of Ireland. We have some beautiful islands. Well, the island cruise, of course, has to be our special cruise, and in fact we've developed it even further again this year. Basically, guests get on at whether it be Cong or Oughterard. They take the half-hour voyage with us to the island of Inchiquel, and once we stop here we take a guided tour at St. Patrick's ancient monastic site.
So we'll be docking here now very shortly. Of course, there's 105 acres on this island here. It's nearly all covered with woodland today, but that wasn't always the case. you had 6 families sharing 80 acres of open farm fields on the site here. And that was the case right up until the last family left here in 1931. They were the Kinney family.
I take a personal interest in the island. I've been coming here since I was 10 years of age, doing these particular cruises, and I never get sick of doing it, because I love history myself and I love dealing with tourists too. That's quite a big island. There's 105 acres of woodland out here on Inchigill Island. It's actually the 4th biggest island on the lake, Inchigill, yeah. Now guys, so what we're looking at here is one of the 2 churches that are here on Inchigill Island. This is actually the newer of the churches, and visitors that come here find it quite amazing to think that this is the new church. This was built in 1180. This is called the Church of the Saints. It was built by the Augustinian monks of Cong back in 1180. Called the Church of the Saints, it was built in honour of the saints of this lake. And here around the top of this beautiful doorway, you can see the 10 heads of the 10 saints of this lake.
This is my first time on Carib Cruises and visiting Inchigill Island. You know, you can feel the atmosphere of the place, the age, and you know, there's so much to see here. You know, it's extraordinary.
This is the original church that you're looking at here now. This is called Champel Porrick, or the Church of St. Patrick, and this is one of the first Christian churches that was built in Ireland. Now, it is believed generally that St. Patrick, if he was here on this island, would have built a church out of timber and mud, and that this church may have replaced it in the later century, perhaps even after St. Patrick had gone. Now, to me, this is the most important of all the 4 monuments that you see on Inchigill Island. This is called the Stone of Lugna, and I was telling you earlier that Lugna was St. Patrick's navigator, and he was banished to this island with St. Patrick back in the 5th century. While St. Patrick left to found other churches, his navigator stayed to look after this site, and he's buried beneath this stone. Now, because he was a navigator, his gravestone takes the shape of a boat's rudder, as you can see, and it's called the Navigator's Stone. Now, the inscription on the stone is quite interesting. It is in fact the Latin alphabet, the same alphabet that we use today, but it's actually written in ancient Gaelic.
Pat, aside from the monastic sites here, there's obviously, you know, a lot more to see on the island as well, because there's walkways all over. Absolutely.
In fact, there's a circular walk going around the entire island, and you have families, people of all ages coming out to enjoy the beauty of this place. I mean, look at these native Irish trees that you have here. You actually have 2 beaches on the island as well. Swinging over in this direction, straight out in front of us, that would be known as the Glan Shore. So basically down there to the left you'd have Upterard, that's a lovely little town on the southern end of the lake. And here's a guy out here trying to get his dinner. That's a lovely spot now to get a brown trout. Right there where that guy is full of trout.
It was really good coming out today on the boat and going to Inchigill. I was with all my friends and family and showing my children the history of the area, and there's just so much to come. It's just not quiet, man. It's such a beautiful village. There's so much to do, and I'll be back again.
Well, little did I know that back in 1976, when my dad started this business and I was a 10-year-old with him, that I would be working in the same business here now today in 2012. And I'm very proud of that fact, and my dad is proud of us for doing it too, and I would hope that in the future myself and my brother David and our children going forward would carry on this wonderful tradition.
No, no, no.